This is the Microsoft Cloud Show, episode 190. Today, CJ and I are going to cover some of the latest news in the Microsoft Azure and Office 365 space, and also cover some picks. Recorded live, April the 18th, 2017. The Microsoft Cloud Show is sponsored by Valid.nl. Valid's motto is stay ahead. Its mission is to enable its customers to excel in their business through the innovative use of IT. Valid is always on the lookout for new colleagues. Are you interested in all things happening in Azure, whether in infrastructure, SQL Server, Office 365, BI, SharePoint, or .NET? Look them up on Valid.nl. Good morning, CJ. How you doing?
I'm okay, mate. Yeah, pretty good.
You're doing better than me, man. I'm fighting a sinus infection. I got the post Las Vegas smoker head plus allergy season kicking in. So I feel like somebody's standing on my face right now.
Could be worse. You could actually have the casino standing on your face trying to extract money out of you.
It kind of feels like that right now, at least. I got a big burly Bellagio security guard standing on my face right now.
That's right. With a baseball bat, and he also looks a lot like Joe Pesci.
How you doing, man?
Very well, my friend. Very well. I'm counting down the days till going away for a trip to Italy. So I'm trying to furiously run around and get a bunch of stuff done before I go, as these things typically go. Yeah.
So where are you guys going?
We're going to fly into Rome, seeing a couple of things there for a day or two, and then we're driving south down along the coast and around a bunch of different towns and things like that. So down to Capri and Positano and a few different places like that. So should be fun. We're away for 9 days in total, something like that.
Gotcha. Cool. That sounds like fun. I did Italy as a kid. I took a lot of Latin in school, and so that was one of our school trips that I did with a couple of my classmates and our Latin teacher. So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Italy,
nice.
Beautiful place.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to going back. It's been quite a while since I've been there. So, and Vicky, who obviously my wife, she is coming, obviously, but our kids are not. And so we're looking forward to getting away together for our 10-year anniversary sort of celebration. So
awesome.
Should be really fun. Really
That's
looking
awesome.
forward to it. Yeah.
So it's not a family trip. It's just the two of you getting away.
Exactly. It's going to be really strange. We're not going to know what to do with ourselves because it'll be the first time we will have been away from our kids for more than 2 days, both of us together. I mean, I've been away for more than 2 days and she's been away for more than 2 days, but we haven't been away from our children for more than 2 days since they were born. So, which A, is super sad, but also B, quite unnerving, right? Because it's going to be quite bizarre for us. So, yeah.
Oh, that'll be nice. That'll be nice to get away.
Yeah, certainly will. How about you? What have you been up to? You've been doing a bit of travel.
Yeah. So I guess last week I had just gotten back from my 2-week hiatus where I was in Seattle and then Austin, Texas, and then Las Vegas. It was not supposed to be 3 cities in a row. It was supposed to be I was supposed to be able to come home during the middle of it, but I got caught up in that whole weather issue that Delta had and was never able to make it home. But yeah, I guess this has been. I'm trying to get a bunch of content together for both for the course I'm working on for the SharePoint framework, but also I've got a couple workshops that I'm delivering on Angular 2 development, or really Angular development that I'm now making it Angular 4, that I'm doing at a conference in Chicago in early May called the GoTo Conference, doing a full-day workshop there. And I'm also presenting later in May in Antwerp in Belgium at a conference called Techorama, where I'm doing a full-day Angular 2 workshop, a session on the Microsoft Graph, and a session on using Angular 2 or Angular 4 for Outlook add-ins.
Gotcha.
So just trying to build out all the content this week so that I can get all the sessions that I have to do between now and the end of June and knock all that out so that I can then head and focus just on Voitano stuff again and not have any more things that are holding me up because it's a great feeling when people are, I guess you guys got to experience this too when you were showing Hyperfish off to people at the beginning. A lot of people have been kind of keep jumping in and saying, where do I pay for this? How do I buy it? I want to buy the course right now. And it's like, it's not for sale just yet. But
not quite ready for you. Yeah.
Yeah, not quite ready, but it's a great feeling to see people asking for it.
Yeah, nice. Oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah. So, hey, today, what we're going to do is we're going to dive in and do a news show. We got a lot of stuff that's been coming up over the last few weeks. I know we've done a couple interviews recently. You did a solo show. I did a solo show. We had that user group show in there, but I guess, about a month maybe since we've done a show that just covered news. And so you and I found mostly Microsoft news. There is one little bit of Docker news in here as well that we want to run through today and get everybody caught up. And next week, what we'll probably end up doing, since you're going to be gone, I will be recording solo, and I've got an interview that I'll show with a play that I did recently with Mark Rackley talking about client-side development. But I'll also cover some of the news that came out of the DockerCon 2017 conference that's going on. Actually, the first day is going on right now as you and I record this.
Yeah, I don't think they've even finished the keynote right now.
Yeah, keynote's still going on. The live stream's still going on. So I picked up one bit of news from it that we'll cover today. That's pretty exciting. But we'll wait to go cover all the news. Well, hey, while you're on your vacation, you might get to hear the what happened at DockerCon.
Yeah, I might have to see if I can download the keynotes and watch them on the plane. Vicky will be stoked about that.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. See if you can get her if you can plug into the seat back for everybody that's sitting up in the seat with you.
Now, listen, we're all going to learn about Docker. Yeah, do a little interactive training at the front. Be awesome.
There you go. Well, hey, before we dive into this, let's take a quick break and have a word from one of our sponsors.
While many IT teams struggle with the impact of deploying Office 365, Zscaler customers are experiencing 40% or greater network performance across file download times, as well as TCP and DNS connection times, compared to using next-gen firewalls and UTMs to route Office 365 traffic locally to the internet. While you may know Zscaler as the leader in cloud security, they also have hundreds of customers who are processing over 1.2 petabytes of Office 365 traffic monthly through the Zscaler cloud. Visit www.zscaler.com to learn more.
Okay, so to kick off our news section off, I'm going to just blaze through a bunch of Azure news, and I'll let you comment on some of them, and I'll let you tackle our Office 365 news. How does that sound?
Sounds good to me.
Cool. So the first one that I'll have, we'll go through these pretty quickly here, is the Microsoft has released, or Azure has released, a preview for what they call the new Azure CLI shell. And so effectively what we used to be able to do was to use the command line interface to launch to execute different commands. But every command that you ran, it was always Azure space and then something with a command and you go run it. Classic CLI.
Yeah.
What the shell does, though, is you effectively type in Azure and you go into a shell where you're now in a full experience, a full console experience of talking to Azure all through the command line. So you can do things like once you type in Azure, you jump in the Azure shell, and then you can say things like set the state of a current VM or the scope of a current VM that you're on. And so every command you execute is going to run in the context of that VM. But it also allows the shell to give you some additional context information about your current experience you're doing at the bottom of the window. So you can do things like it shows you the subscription that you're currently using, the Azure subscription you're currently using. It shows you how to show additional details about the VM that you're on or any tutorial kind of information. It's pretty slick.
Yeah, it looks really nice because it's kind of more interactive, right? And you discover things through it as opposed to needing to know what the commands are for certain stuff. I've just been working on some automation scripts for our environments to spin up new Azure environments for different developers or different, test environments and so forth. And I used the new Azure CLI to do it. And it's pretty intuitive, but it would have been nice to have this shell I actually didn't know about this. Would it be nice to have the shell to interactively figure out what commands I needed. It's pretty sweet though. I've got it creating virtual machines, creating all of the infrastructure around them, creating the resource groups and the disks and the network cards and IPs and all that. And it all gets wired up, and then I deploy a Docker Cloud stack file and then tag the images, and then all of the stuff gets auto-deployed and spun up. And then it talks to GoDaddy to automate adding DNS entries that we need for that particular environment. And so one script, hit run, builds the entire infrastructure, and then you can just hit it in a browser and you're ready to go. It's pretty sweet.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
It's been quite an infuriating experience, mind you. But let's just say I'm not much of a scripter.
Yeah. But it's quite nice that once you have that done, it makes you your entire environment now is fully documented on how you stand it up. That's one of the great things about having that script.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward, and it makes it really easy that somebody else can do it.
Very cool.
Yes.
Two of the bits here that I have are around Azure Search. So first one is around news search analytics. And of course, for all of our listeners, all of these things that we have that we're listing out today, in the show. They're all available in the show notes. We'll have them all listed in the notes when you download the episode to your podcasting app, whatever you use on your phone to listen to it. Or if you just go to the permalink of the show on our website. And if you subscribe to our mailing list, you will also get a link or an email with all of the show notes will be emailed to you as well.
Gotcha.
So this first thing about Azure Search, new search analytics for Azure Search. So they've got a little bit of extra data that they're providing to you. The way you actually turn this on is you're going to first enable application insights. You're going to log the search request data, and then you can log like search request data, users click data, and then you can also go in and leverage things like with Power BI, and it'll show you a bunch of additional data for what's being done inside of your Azure Search implementation. Again, Azure Search will be reporting a bunch of stuff to Azure's App Insights, which we'll talk a little bit more in a minute as well. And then you can use Power BI to pull that data out and slice and dice and see what's available there.
Gotcha. Really nice.
Yeah, so that's one. I think there's even a Power BI content pack that they give you that you can leverage with this as well. The other thing is they also are releasing support for synonyms in public preview. And so what this is going to allow you to do is to not only return results that match the query terms that were typed in the search box, but it's also going to return results which match synonyms of the query terms that you define. So think about a search as a service solution. Azure Search is used in a wide variety of applications. And while they span a bunch of different languages and different industries and scenarios, some terminology and definitions may vary between different use cases. And so this is going to allow you to use the synonym API to define your own synonym mappings for your specific implementation.
Pretty fancy.
Yep. So 2 little search nuggets there. Another one that we have is around, hold on, I think I just lost it a second. They have announcing a SDK for Node.js 2.0. So it's not really Node.js 2.0, but it's their SDK version 2.0 for Node.js. They're releasing it in preview. It has things where it covers promises. It updates a bunch of different typings that are available to you. It allows it to, like type definitions. It allows you to use the async and await capability that we have in TypeScript that's in the up-and-coming ECMAScript 2017 specification. Yeah. And then also adds a preview release of 20 new modules like advisor management, automation management, billing management, cognitive services, container registry, consumer insights, DocDB, logic management, machine learning, media services, operation insights, recovery services backup, recovery services management, relay management, scheduler management, search management, service fabric management, service map management, SQL management, and storage, import, export management.
Sorry, I missed the third one. Could you just go back?
Yeah, billing management.
Nice. Wow, that's really cool. That would have been... I should have really, instead of scripting my infrastructure build, I should have really done it all in Node.
Yeah, you could have done everything in Node and take advantage of the rest of
Yeah, that would have been a whole bunch easier. Yeah.
But then again, it's in preview, so you're going to hit a couple rough edges and figure out, is it my bad scripting or is it the code not finished?
Yeah, or there'll be one service that you want that the SDK doesn't cover and it just totally balks you up,
Yeah, it's like, why did I go
Exactly, yeah. It's like, yeah, that's painful.
Another bit of news that came out in early April is... this is kind of funny. To me, this is kind of funny because we've known about this for a while, but it's around the Access Control Service or ACS. And the one around...
Does anybody except SharePoint people use this?
I was going to say just SharePoint people. Everybody else has gotten away from it.
It's kind of been put on the back burner, right?
I think so, yeah. So it says the changes to how namespaces are created, ACS namespaces are created. And now you will no longer be able to create new namespaces starting on June 30th, 2017. If you want to create an ACS namespace beyond this date, you've got to pick up the phone and call Azure customer support. They're basically telling you now, they've been telling us the whole time, but this is kind of hey, we're not going to stop you from doing it, but we're going to make it really painful to do it.
Yeah.
They're saying that ACS functionality is fully supported in existing namespaces. However, the future of ACS is Azure Active Directory. They're committed to improving and updating Azure Active Directory to natively support many of the scenarios enabled by ACS. We encourage you to explore the offerings that Azure AD B2C can provide today. That's quoted from the blog post.
Yeah, gotcha.
So they're pretty much doing everything they can to say, look, stop using this. We want to shut it down.
Yeah. So, if you call that number, it's going to be like, hi, you've reached the ACS hotline. Please leave a message after the beep and we'll never get back to you.
We will treat your ACS namespace request with such tender loving care as a United customer.
As a United Airlines passenger. Oh, brutal. Oh, dear. Oh, dear. Gosh, that's pretty painful. I wonder if the SharePoint team are finally going to get their act together and get off ACS.
I don't know. I think they're just hiring a bunch of people to man the phones.
Yeah, they're going to brute force it, you reckon? Yeah.
So probably right. Oh, goodness.
Oh, brutal.
All right. Another bit that's just going to be a really quick one is that now that Azure Storage or Azure CDN, Azure CDN has support for HTTP 2. So, and that used to be, I guess, late last year and late summer of 2016, they announced support for HTTP 2 and Azure CDN for Akamai. And now for everyone using Verizon as well. So you don't have to do anything. It's on by default. It's already turned on for all of your existing CDN profiles, no additional fees or anything. It's just, hey, we support HTTP 2, which is going to make life better for if the devices between you and making the request to the Azure CDN, if they all support HTTP 2, then you'll be able to benefit from it, from the browser to the switches and the hubs and everything between wherever you are.
Gotcha. Oh, that's kind of nice. Yeah. Make things a bit quicker.
And then the other one that I had was around the Azure Advisor Monitor. So there's Microsoft announced general availability for the Azure Monitor, Resource, and Health availability. Resource Health, general availability. They released all that stuff into GA. So this is stuff that we saw back in at the Ignite keynote last time around.
Gotcha. Well, that's a ton of good Azure stuff.
Yeah. I got one more topic that's got 3 little nuggets in there that I think are really, really cool. And I'll throw those out there and then I hand it off to you for the Office 365 stuff, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
These are Azure functions, right? These are Azure functions. I love this stuff. So first one is there is a new integrated portal for Azure functions. And what's pretty cool about this is that, when you go manage your Azure functions, it takes you over to it seems to be a totally different website. It still looks very familiar to the Azure portal. But it's like a separate website where you do all of your management and allows you to do a lot of different things. You can very easily create new functions, you get into your function apps, and then it kind of takes over the whole blade kind of screen takes over with one gigantic blade. It shows you a list of all your functions apps. It's very easy to go in and to manage the settings in configuration and code for each one of your different Azure functions. So you could easily set up the pipelines for what comes in, what goes out. You can set up different platform features. You can modify the APIs that you set there, how it's deployed and everything. It's an easier experience in messing with it than what we had before.
Ooh, and Git integration.
Yeah, Git integration pulls straight in, updates straight from Git, which I'm working on a couple functions right now for some stuff. And I'm doing it all. I did it in Azure Function UI first, and then I've kind of copied it over into Git, and I'm trying to set up to where how can I test my function and then on a green build, automatically check it in over to master and have my Azure function get updated automatically using CI.
That's cool.
Yeah. So that's one. Another one too, this one's very slick. I'm looking forward to trying this out. Azure Functions now has direct integration with App Insights. So you can now go in and add a couple settings to your Azure Functions, your instance that you have. And you can go in and pass in things like your instrumentation key. You can set the functions extension version to beta, which is normally set to I think -1 or -1 or something. But what this does then is that Azure Functions will automatically throw a ton of information over to your App Insights instance so that you can now see a bunch of analytics and stuff that's going on.
Nice. We had a bit of an incident with our logging and telemetry a while back for the cloud show. And turns out we weren't processing the logs for a little while. And I got in touch with one of the Azure Functions guys, and he said, don't tell anybody now, but we've got this cool new App Insights integration coming so that you'll be able to tell when your function's not working. I was like, perfect.
Well, we could tell. We went and checked the stats. What was it? Sometime in either early April or late March. And all of a sudden I'm like, where's all the data since January the 10th?
Yeah, we noticed none of our log data was parsing. Yeah. Yeah, that was really strange. So it turns out we ended up creating our Azure function during the Azure Functions preview, or we've got a couple of Azure functions, but one of them in particular we created during the Azure Functions preview. And I think I created it, but I created it with a space in the name at the time. And sometime in the last 3 months, they've decided that that's no longer okay. And so now our Azure function that had a space in the name just stopped running. So the fix was go into the console, rename the directory from the name with the space in it to the name without a space in it, and the function just magically started working again. Yeah, and then reprocessed all of our logs since the dawn of time and took 3 days. But yeah, anyway.
We're catching up now.
Yeah, at least. Yeah, so all of the messages were all queued that it hadn't processed, right? So it's in a storage queue. And so you can actually go in with the Azure Explorer and go see all of the messages in the queue that it's ready to process. It was pretty nifty. Anyway.
Yeah, that tool, that Azure Storage Explorer, there was an older version that was Windows only. There's a cross-platform version.
Yeah.
I think it's been out for maybe a year or two now, but they've done a really good job. It's an Electron app, and they're doing a really good job of adding additional features and capabilities to it. I'm really happy with it.
Yeah, you could also do things like remote copying blobs from one place to another, and it doesn't come to your machine first, which is super helpful. Yeah.
Yeah. I wish it had AWS integration. I've got about 6 terabytes over in AWS S3 that I want to move over to Azure cold storage. And
you don't want to go via Florida?
No, I do not want to go via Florida. I'm just like, look, I'm sure you guys have data centers right next to each other, and there's a tool to do it. I mean, AZ Copy can do it, but you've got to write a script that's going to tear through everything and add it. And it's one of those things, the script is kind of a pain in the butt to get just right.
Yeah. Once
you start running, then it's like, I'm going to walk away and like 2 days later, it'll be done. Meanwhile, if I try and re-upload everything, it's going to take, I don't want to, it's at least, I think it's like 5.8 terabytes that I have to move.
Oh yeah, that might take a while.
Yeah. Yeah, just a bit. So the last thing that I have here is announcing preview support for Azure Functions Open API, which is also it's more popularly known as Swagger. So what this is going to allow you to do is they're adding a Swagger template generator to create a quick start Swagger file from existing metadata and your HTTP trigger functions. You just fill in the operational objects and for each of your HTTP verbs, and ta-da, you're done. They do all that stuff for you, which is really slick.
That's really nice.
Yeah, it makes it super easy to create one of these open APIs very quick and easy.
Yeah, nice. I have to try that.
Yep. So that's all my Azure news. I want to turn over to you for Office news. But before I do that, I do want to take a quick little pause and pay a couple bills here and have a word from one of our fantastic sponsors.
What if you could take any process your teams use to get work done and make it happen automatically? What if you could save countless hours and help people work better together? MintX can make that happen. With the MintX platform, work flows from person to person, system to system, to the cloud and back. And it flows in and out of the tools that you use every day. With MintX, work flows so your teams can work smarter, work faster, and be more connected than ever.
All right, Mr. Johnson, you got any news on the 365 front for us?
I certainly do. I've got 3 news items. The first of which is, along with a US carrier group moving into South Korean waters, Office is opening a data center there. So in terms of escalation of tensions, I mean, this new Office 365 availability is really going to tip North Korea over the edge, I feel. And if there's one thing that's really going to tick them off, it's an availability of local data centers, personally. I know they were waiting for this. So I don't know how this will roll with, North Korea tensions, but, if South Korea wasn't already bugging them, then this is really going to tip them over the edge. There's 2 new data centers in South Korea for Office 365, which is pretty nice. One of them is in Seoul, and one of them is in, I think you pronounce it Busan, perhaps, in South Korea.
Sure, yeah.
Which is pretty cool. They say since October 2014, we've expanded our global cloud footprint and opened new data center regions in Japan, Australia, India, Canada, the UK, and now South Korea. So that's really nice. I think more zones in the APAC region for Office 365. Not sure why they picked South Korea of all places. Not sure, but there must be enough, maybe local laws or something that prohibit them, having your tenant somewhere else, perhaps, or something along those lines. Not really sure why, but anyway. So South Korea gets 2 new data centers, and hopefully they last a while.
Yeah, jeez. Well, if it's highly available, I know it's going to make North Koreans very upset. So
yeah,
they want limited available data.
That's right. Less data, the better.
Exactly.
So that's data centers in South Korea. Nice additional expansion of the Office 365 service.
Nice addition there to the political little slide in there. Good job.
Yeah, sorry. I'm not sure if we have any listeners from North Korea, but if we do, definitely get in touch. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah. Be careful, though, because I'm sure that the government would like to get in touch as well.
Please don't get in touch via malicious means on our website. Get in touch via Twitter or something like that.
There we go.
Do not hack all of our things. Okay. No. Another piece of news.
Well, they could just put a space in the function name. That'll hack us pretty good.
I think, okay, this is going to be pretty poor humor here for a second, but I'm pretty sure the US just put a space in one of their function names that their missile test blew up, right? I wonder if it came down to something like that. I wonder if somebody in the NSA decided, let's really tool with them and put a space in one of their function names, and nobody noticed. And
either that or just nest a very long folder path. Hey, you're running on Windows. We can tell you're running on Windows.
Yeah, that's right. Sorry, you can't have 1024 characters in your folder path. Yeah, can't reach launch second phase of missile launch.exe. Yeah.
Exceeded 256 characters.
Yeah, that's right. Oh boy,
this is getting bad.
Getting terrible. Yep. I hate it when that happens, though. Long folder paths suck. Yeah.
Hey, I think we're long overdue for a Gartner mention.
Yeah. Speaking of long folder names. Oh, dear. I'm crying just a little bit.
Our poor listeners are going to be rolling their eyes like, I don't get this. Why is this
I
so
don't
funny?
know why it's so funny, but I'm finding it really funny for some reason. SharePoint is declared a leader in the Gartner Magic Quadrant for enterprise content management, which oh God, I've completely balked it up. It's not Gartner at all. It's actually a Forrester Wave. My bad. So,
well, we're overdue on having an analyst on the show, so there we go.
Oh God, this is going really poorly. I'm really sorry.
That's okay.
This has absolutely nothing to do with Gartner. It's got everything to do with Forrester. It's not called a Magic Quadrant at all. It's called a Forrester Wave. Oh, but it is actually to do with enterprise content management. So I got 1 out of 10.
And SharePoint.
Oh yeah, so it is. Yeah.
You're right. You're about at a negative $1,000 on Jeopardy right now.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Please continue.
Dear. I'll take screwing it up for 800.
What is CJ reporting
news? Okay. Woosa. Okay. SharePoint evaluated as leader in the Forrester Wave Enterprise Content Management Business Content Services Q2 2017. See, I told you the folder path was long.
Mental note.
Yeah.
29 minutes in. Epic screw.
So I think we've talked about Gartner and Forrester and the analysts and so forth on the show before, but every now and again Forrester put out their Wave report, trademark, and little, not italics, what do you call them?
Superscript.
That's it. Thank you. The Forrester Wave trademark superscript, enterprise content management, and this basically goes through and evaluates all the ECM vendors and where they lie in their view. But what I thought was interesting in this one was SharePoint's still marked as a leader, which given their investment in ECM recently is kind of a bit of a surprise, to be honest. But it really does go to show that not much is changing in the ECM industry as far as Forrester and Gartner are aware of anyway. And the second thing that I thought was interesting was that they've also called out this thing and this shift from traditional ECM to what they call business content services. And my take on this is that this change from Forrester in this case is really following from the way that people are dealing with content differently in the cloud, right? And but less and less, I think, people are treating content with these strict kind of big all-up enterprise content management or records management type solutions. And they're dealing with it in much more sort of agile, and where the users are at kind of manner. And I think what Forrester have decided to call us is business content services as opposed to enterprise content management. They say that business content services emphasizes content creation, policy, and reuse, but remains distinct from transactional high-volume content services like those supporting credit card processing and da-da-da-da-da. So and they're saying that Microsoft, through Office 365 and SharePoint Online, has been at the forefront of this change. So you could read this one of two ways. You could either say Forrester's up with the game on the way people are dealing with content differently these days in the cloud, or you could say that Microsoft's convinced them that traditional ECM is no longer required in the cloud, and therefore they should create a new category. I think it's probably a bit of both, to be honest. But so business content services. So I suspect we'll have a separate wave. There'll be an old crusty wave for the ECM providers of the world, and then there's going to be a new business content services wave, which will include, the likes of Office 365, maybe Box, perhaps, something like that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Gartner talks about this, like in their next report that they had to come out, the next Magic Quadrant that comes out, because both of these companies, both these analysts kind of go hand in hand in terms of different topics that they cover. And I'm with you. I don't see ECM seemed to be a much bigger deal a couple of years ago than it does right now. Not just in the lack of the SharePoint space, and you've seen some acquisitions happen with Dell buying up the company EMC, which does a lot. It has a Documentum, which is a big enterprise content management solution and all that. But you do still see a lot. And I know I guess we did our whole, what was it, OpenText? I think when we got destroyed by the OpenText people a couple months ago. I think that you don't see it as much as being as big of a deal or as big of a focus for organizations. They want to enable, not make it easier to collaborate, and then just try and, like you said, with business content, being able to track that content, preserve it, and map it and everything from where they currently are instead of having to go somewhere else, which is interesting because that's really the approach that SharePoint started to take, 2010-ish, 2013-ish, where they started to say, like, look, we're going to democratize ECM. We're going to bring it to wherever you are instead of forcing you to go to a record center or a document solution or something like that.
They've got out the CPR paddles on that strategy and are starting to talk about it again, because this blog post up in the Office blogs that we'll point to in the show notes talks about their life cycle of content, and it goes through things like creating content, coordinating the creation and co-authoring of documents and so forth, then through to protection, about managing compliance and risk, applying different policies and so forth, and then harvesting content around being able to find it, discover it, and analyze it, and then back in the cycle, back to create. So it's this kind of evergreen, I guess, or never-ending cycle. And that's nothing new for the SharePoint world, as you point out, right? But it seems like they're calling it something new, they're putting some new words to it, and sort of giving this strategy a bit of a shock and a restart. So we'll see how that goes.
Very cool.
So that's the Forrester wave. That's right. The last bit of news I've got here is for those of you on Mac, iOS, and Android. They've got a blog post, quite funnily entitled "Introducing Groups." It's like, hold on, isn't this something we discovered like 3 years ago or something? Or 2 years ago?
Yeah.
So for Mac users, ta-da! Now you've got groups. So they've put groups in Outlook on Mac, iOS, and Android. So now in Outlook on a Mac, you can go in and see your little, over on the left-hand side, you've got your wee sort of folder structure type thing, and you can go see your groups in there, which is pretty nice. This is one of the biggest things lacking from the Mac client for some time, has been kind of groups integration and being able to dig in. But they also say that they've got it for iOS and Android as well. So the standalone Outlook Groups app.
Yeah. Oh, the standalone.
Yeah, so it's Outlook.
Groups. Okay.
So it's Outlook for iOS and Android. What happens to the Outlook Groups app? Hold on. Customers gave us the feedback they wanted Groups availability directly in Outlook for iOS and Android. And so Outlook Groups will still be available. Basically, still be available means they're not going to improve it and it will probably die. So it should be an Outlook for iOS and Android is what they're saying here. But it's going to be rolling out.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm fully updated too, and I haven't seen Groups on iOS yet. I do see them on my Mac, but I don't see them on my
they're
phone.
saying it'll be rolling out in the coming weeks.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I don't know how long it will take for people to get it. Yeah.
Well, there you go. Cool stuff. Oh, yep. Look at that. There's a 174 meg update out today, the day that we're recording, to Microsoft Outlook for iOS.
Gotcha.
which is strangely enough, you would think that Outlook is like, a really big app on your phone, right?
Yeah.
Do you know Facebook is twice the size of it on iOS? The latest Facebook update was 363 megs.
Good grief.
For an iOS app.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never built an iOS app. I have no desire to do it, but it just seems to me, it's like, wow, that seems big.
Yeah, that seems a lot. It's not exactly I guess there's a lot of stickers and graphics and things like that they've got to probably do 4 different renditions, for Retina things and non-Retina displays and all that sort of stuff. Anyway.
Yeah, still seems
cool. So those are the 3 things. We've got tensions escalating around Office 365 data centers in South Korea. We've got the Gartner / Forrester Wave and Magic Quadrant, and Outlook groups in Mac, iOS, and Android.
Awesome. I have one more bit of news here that we want to share. That this is the first Docker bit of news that we saw come out of DockerCon today, which is interesting. I haven't had much time to really dig into it yet, so I'm not going to go too much depth in this, but I'll cover a little bit more on our show next week. But Docker had an announcement. They're announcing something called Linux Kit, which is a toolkit for building secure, lean, and portable Linux subsystems. So let me read from their blog what this is. So Linux Kit includes the tooling to allow building custom Linux subsystems that only include exactly the components that the runtime platform requires. All system services are containers that can be replaced, and everything that is not required can be removed. All components can be substituted with the ones that match specific needs. It is a kit very much in the Docker philosophy of batteries included but swappable. So they were showing that today at DockerCon during the keynote. And I'll have a link to this in their announcement that came out today. This is April the 18th on their blog post. But one of the things that I saw was pretty cool about it was that I picked up on Twitter that someone by the name of John Grossman, I think he's Microsoft, but I'm not entirely sure. He might be Docker, but there's a bunch of sessions that are being done at DockerCon, but that show the integration or the partnership between both Microsoft and Docker. And one of the things that John Grossman was showing during his part in the keynote, at least I think it was the keynote. Again, I'm not watching the live stream. It looked like it was coming from it was a Twitter post. But the title was that John Grossman introduces Linux containers on Windows Server 2016 powered by Linux Kit. That's really cool because one of the things we have not been able to do is on a Windows system, we got Docker containers, a year ago or so? Late last September is last September at Ignite when it was announced, and we interviewed Taylor Brown from Microsoft about it. You could also do Linux containers on Windows, but you did it with a Linux VM, so like an Ubuntu VM, and then you ran Docker on top of that. On a Mac, we still are limited to just having Linux-based Linux-based containers. We don't have the ability to do Windows containers. And I wonder if, how much closer this is getting us to having, that full parity. Because one of the interviews we did with Taylor Brown, I can't remember what episode it was. I don't know if you can look that up while I'm saying this, but one of the episodes we did, not from Ignite, but one of the ones we did, I think, last summer at some point, June or July of last year, when we were talking to him and we were like, so you're working on both, being able to do both Linux containers and Windows containers from the Docker for Windows and Docker for Mac, from the client application to make it really easy. And you wouldn't have to specify, is it a Linux container or a Windows container when you fired it up. The Docker engine could tell which one it was, and it knew how to load the necessary VM under the covers to be able to host that VM. I wonder how much closer this is actually getting. I know this is helping us on the Linux side, but I wonder how much this is actually getting us to maybe being able to have Windows containers on.
Yeah, that sounds really good. Yeah, John Grossman is from Microsoft. It sounds like from this article, they've been working together on the integration, and there's more stuff coming around Linux Kit and Hyper-V isolation and all that sort of stuff. So maybe we should talk to Taylor again about this. This looks really, really interesting. Yeah, maybe we will have that ability to run containers everywhere. We spoke to Taylor Brown in episode 155, by the sounds of it.
That's right, 155. That's right. 155 and 137, I think, is the one I was thinking about. Because, we did 155 is when we did in September, and 137 is when we talked to Taylor back in July of last year. That was the one when I think he blew our minds 3 or 4 times towards the end of that interview.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
It sounds like...
So it's cool stuff.
It sounds like him and Taylor may work together. So, John and Taylor may work together. So we'll have to chat to them and see what's what and get their scoop on how this will change container development for Windows.
Absolutely, yeah. I know. We're getting closer to Ignite, to Build, and so it'd be nice. I know we're going to have hopefully see a lot more container news and stuff. And I guess, God, we're getting close. I wonder if we're going to have time to do our
3 weeks.
Yeah. I guess when you come back, we'll have to do our what do we hope to see at Ignite, or God, did it again. What do we hope to see at Build coming from Microsoft?
Yes.
Interesting to see.
Yeah, John Gossman is an architect on the Azure core team, focused on Linux and open source developer experiences, APIs, and containers. There you go.
God, you never would have seen that title.
No, really? Yeah, it's amazing.
On the Windows core team, focused on...
I work on Linux strategy and partnerships for Azure.
And I'm a Windows core team member.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, hey, we covered a bunch of news here. I know you and I each have a pair of picks, but before we do the picks, we got to just pay a few more bills. So let's hear another word from one of our absolutely fantastic sponsors picked up. So far from the last show, we added a new sponsor. MintX jumped in and is now one of the proud sponsors. So very happy to have MintX join us as well.
Very. Obviously, we spoke with Ryan at the MintX Inspire X conference, and it's great to have them on supporting the show.
Absolutely. So let's pay one more set of bills here and get one of our sponsors to have a moment with us. All right.
ShareGate makes it easier for organizations to adopt and use the latest Microsoft productivity tools, helping millions of users be happier and more productive at work. ShareGate is trusted by over 10,000 IT admins from over 110 countries to manage, migrate, and secure their SharePoint and Office 5 environments. ShareGate is recognized as the must-have tool for day-to-day administration of on-premises, cloud, and hybrid environments. Interested in learning more? Check us out at sharegate.com to learn how ShareGate can make you more productive.
All right, Mr. Johnson, now we have paid the bills. We have a couple picks, and it looks like we've both gone geeky again. Kind of geeky, kind of not geeky. So how about you give us your first non-geeky one, and then I'll do my first non-geeky one.
Sure, non-geeky. Here's something that will make you feel super inferior. There's a video online that we'll post in the show notes to a dude who is juggling. And you might be like, oh yeah, cool, I can juggle. But can you solve 3 Rubiks cubes that you're currently juggling? That's what I want to know. Turns out there are people in this world that have mastered this.
And it's on video.
And he's got a GoPro or something strapped to his head, and you can watch him solving 3 Rubik's cubes as he juggles them. And so if you watch really closely, he solves one at a time. So this is like a 386 DX 266 kind of solution. You know, he's solving one at a time. But what I really would like to see is if one of our listeners can solve all 3 at the same time and parallelize this.
We will give you a lifetime subscription to the podcast.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. So yes, 3 Rubik's cubes being solved at the same time, which I thought was pretty sweet. I mean, I can juggle 3 things, 3 tennis balls or hacky sacks or whatever, and I can solve 2 layers of a Rubik's cube by itself. And I'm working on figuring out how to solve the 3rd level of a Rubik's cube, but I can't do it while juggling. That's for sure. So
yeah, that's on my bucket list. I've never solved one. It's got to be done.
Yeah, so that's my non-geeky one.
I was in a very scary flight many years ago. It felt like that might have been the night. And I was like, I still haven't done my Rubik's Cube, but anyway. So here's this bit of news that came out. It was in the New York Times today. It was Steve Ballmer serves up a fascinating data trove. And you're like, well, wait a minute, what's this? So Steve Ballmer, he admitted to, after leaving Microsoft, was it 5 years ago or so now? Something like that?
Yeah, a little while back.
Actually, it couldn't have been 5 years ago because he left and you and I had a bet on who was going to be the next one. We did it on the podcast.
3 years.
So he left in the last 3 years. Yeah. So when he left, he admitted to having I have nothing to do kind of a problem. So he went through, and the article talks about a little bit of, the journey he went on, but he started having had a couple questions that came up to help with his wife's philanthropic business. And one of them was, trying to find out, well, how many police officers does the government employ? Or how many police officers does this government employ? Or how many teachers are employed? And all that kind of stuff. And so what he did is he spent, I think they said between $5 and $7 million a year, hiring a bunch of research analysts, a bunch of economists, and some other data people from local universities. And he's collected a ridiculous amount of information. I think it's called USA Facts. And effectively what it does is it allows you to kind of go in and say, hey, the U.S. government, how many people does the U.S. government employ? 24 million people. And you're like, wow, that's a lot of people. But did you know 50% of them were teachers and people that worked in upper and high school education and everything? And it's like, no, I didn't. Or you can ask yourself with his new site that he's launching today, what places, how do I say this? How many police officers are employed by this one district, and how does it relate to the crime statistics? So are more police, does that equate to less crime? It's just interesting. And so it's just really cool that someone's gone out and, used their own money to say, here you go. And his thinking behind it made a lot of sense. He's like, look, when I would go through and try and understand another company, when I was at Microsoft, I'd always ask to see their K-10, which is a filing that basically says, here's how we spend all of our money as a public company. And he said, there's nothing that the U.S. government does that, where the government is required to do that. And he goes, so this way, you can actually see, this is like the government's K-10 that actually shows you all the information about how the government spends its money. And it's not a political thing. It's not funded by the left or the right or trying to slam anything.
No, it's just how much they spend. Yeah.
Hey, it's kind of like the GAO, which is just here's how much is spent, and here's the number of people, and here's the number of assets. And we know that a lot of money is spent by the Defense Department, and all that, how much is actually spent by it, how much accounts for this.
It's fascinating.
Isn't it cool? I just started digging into it, and I was like, oh man, this could easily be something you just kind of fall into and stare at for a while. So it's an article on the New York Times, explains everything about this. The site is called USA Facts, and you can I'll have a link to it in the show notes. You can go take a look at.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
that's
cool contribution.
Yeah, I guess Steve Ballmer is like, I'm bored. What can I do? Yeah, let's start a website.
Yeah, usafacts.org, FACTS.org.
I wonder if he wrote any of the code. That's pretty interesting. It's nice because it's data transparency, and all of this type of data is so complicated, but it looks like they've done a nice job of being able to navigate through it and find information and things like that. It's pretty well done.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Now it's actually coming up, because when I first went to it, it was in your email. We'll let you know when we launch.
Yeah, gotcha. No, it's all up now.
And sorry, it was 10K. The filing is called the 10K. It's not the K10.
Gotcha.
$12,536 is paid in taxes by the average single parent in 2015. There were 3.9 million births in 2015, and the median age in 2015 is 37.8.
I'm above median. Trouble.
Well, at the time you were.
Hey, I've got a geeky one.
Go for it.
This one is called $5,660 Mac Pro crushed in Photoshop test by $1,500 PC with AMD Ryzen CPU. So this guy has done some Photoshop tests between Apple's Mac Pro from a couple of years ago that costed $5,600, or currently costs $5,600 if you were to buy it, and put it up against a PC that costs $1,500. And the PC comes out ahead, strangely enough, and it's got to do with this new Ryzen-powered CPU or something along those lines from AMD. Actually, AMD's stock price has been doing pretty reasonably well recently because of this, I think. And they found that this Mac Pro did this particular set of operations, performance stuff in 15 seconds, and that the Ryzen one did it in 7.7, which was pretty sweet.
That's a 50% cut.
Yeah, it's double the performance for, less than half the cost, obviously, or a third of the cost.
It's kind of not apples to apples too, because the Mac Pro really hasn't been refreshed in a couple of years. So they're still charging an arm and a leg for it, but it hasn't been refreshed. Yeah. So it's not apples to apples on hardware wise.
I think the point was, though, that if you're a creative dude, if you're a creative person, you're trying to buy a PC that's really kick-ass, or trying to buy a machine that's really kick-ass, but you've been Apple in the past, you might get better perf out of something a third of the price from the PC side of the fence.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting to see this too come out. I mean, I know we were talking about it offline. I don't think we talked about it in a show recently where Apple pulled some people into their offices and said, hey, we screwed up. We get it. People, we screwed up when we designed the Mac Pro. It's not very extensible. It's not very upgradable by not only third party, but by us either, by first party. And so we're completely redesigning it, but we're not tone deaf. We know that people are interested in it. We're just not going to have it ready this year. and we're focused on fixing the problems we had in the past. To me, I love it. I would, give me a blank check, and the two machines that I'd want to buy is a brand new Mac Pro, which next year's version, and a 13-inch MacBook Pro. It's like those are the two machines that I'd want to go buy right now and say, that's my kit. I got a nice little portable machine, but a beefy desktop.
Yeah, gotcha. So yeah, they're going to refresh it soon, I think. So this may change, but I just thought it was an interesting comparison.
Absolutely. So my bit of geeky thing here, this is a really quick one, is Headless Chrome. So it is hit the build 59 for Chrome, which is in Chrome Canary. If you're not familiar with how Chrome works, they have a dev build and then a Canary build, which is kind of like think about it as like the beta version of Chrome. You can have two different versions of Google Chrome installed on your desktop. If you sat through a session before at a conference and you see someone have like the normal multicolor circle for Chrome, and then next to it, they have a yellow circle version of Chrome, no multicolor, but just yellow. That's the Canary version. And Canary basically lets you test the next version of Chrome that's going to be pushed out in the beta channel. So I love using it. The dev tools on the Canary one are absolutely awesome. There's a couple extra things in there that you don't get with a normal one. But so what they've done is they have released and build 59, which will probably come in the stable channel. So it hit the main Chrome version sometime in early June of this year, a headless option. And so what that will allow us to do is from the command line, you can launch Chrome in a headless experience. Now you wonder, well, why does that really matter? If you're not a developer, then you don't care about this. But as far as developers go, when you do any kind of testing for client-side based code, JavaScript specifically, you are familiar with a tool called Phantom.js. And Phantom.js is a way to essentially take the Chromium browser, or the Chromium engine, which is what Chrome is founded on, and allows you to run Chrome in a headless way. But it's got some little bugs issues here. You've got to do little fixes to get it working with jQuery and stuff. But it's still a way for us to do automated testing of client-side code in, say, like a CI tool like Travis or Circle or something like that.
Yeah.
What this headless option does is that it's now been implemented. It's now in the Canary version. I don't think it's available outside of the Linux versions right now. But what it allows us to do is that eventually we'll be able to run all of our tests against the full version of Chrome, but without launching a window for it, which is absolutely awesome. Hopefully that pushes IE and Safari and Firefox to do the same thing, to do full testing with it.
Yeah, the problem in the past was Phantom was good, but it didn't support some things.
Yeah.
And so you'd end up not quite right. So
yeah, and even more so, Phantom was only supported by one guy.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
When this news came out, here's the interesting thing. This news came out, that guy put a post in the Chromium news mailing list or newsletter and said, effective immediately, it's no longer, Phantom.js is no longer maintained.
I'm out.
Yeah, so which is the way, that's kind of how it should be going. And so it's nice that we'll have sometime in June that we'll be able to start switching over our client-side apps to use headless Chrome, and we'll get the same way to test it as we would when our users get it. We're not actually testing an offshoot.
Yeah, gotcha. That's really cool. I'm definitely going to look into it.
Yeah, I've tried to go through and to change some of one of my projects to use that for testing, and it's not really an option right now.
Gotcha.
But it's nice to know that it's there and there's some work that needs to be done.
Cool.
Yep. That's a full day of news, man.
Yeah, it certainly is.
Yeah.
Good catch up.
Absolutely. Hey, if anybody has any questions or anything for us, we've got a few requests for certain shows that have been submitted by listeners. But if you've got any questions you want to send in to us, we are question empty. Our queue is empty. So please feel free to send anything in.
We're all ears.
And we're all ears. Love to have you on the show. And I guess Build is right around the corner. So we are looking to see what we're going to do around Build. Are you going to Build?
I am.
CJ?
Yes.
You are.
Yep.
So we can have some good conversations about what we see at the keynotes, and hopefully it's a little more interesting than last year.
Yeah, exactly. We will definitely see. But yeah, I'll be there. It's local this year for me, so kind of got to go.
Yeah, hopefully there'll be more Microsoft guys there now that it's our engineers there. That'll be around the whole week for you too. So
yeah, it makes it a bit easier for them to go.
Cool deal, man.
Excellent. Thanks very much, man.
Hey. You and the missus have a fantastic time in Italy, and we will see you in 2 weeks.
Excellent. Will do.
Yeah, man. I'll be back with my show, with an interview with Mark Rackley and a DockerCon recap for all of our listeners next week. So until then, we'll see everybody later.
Later.
Did you like this episode? please tweet about it and drop a 5-star review in iTunes. Word of mouth recommendations are the most effective ways for us to grow the show, and we'd really appreciate it. If you have a question for us, go to microsoftcloudshow.com/questions, where you can submit it as text or record it as a WAV or an MP3, and provide a link so that we can play your question on the show. Our theme music is brought to you by Keith Ritchie. For more information on Keith's music, head to music.kritchie.com. You can subscribe to us in iTunes and the Google Play Store by searching for the Microsoft Cloud Show, or via RSS at microsoftcloudshow.com, where you'll also find notes of each episode. You can also find us on Facebook, searching for Microsoft Cloud Show, or on Twitter at MS Cloud Show. And finally, sign up to our mailing list by heading over to our website and entering your email to interact with us, participate in upcoming interviews, and other cool stuff. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.